Hello and welcome back to the Idaho Reports podcast. I'm Logan Finney. The 2024 Idaho Republican Party Convention is underway in Coeur d'Alene this week, with delegates from the 44 counties and 35 legislative districts convening to consider changes to the party platform, resolutions to guide party priorities for the next 2 years, as well as possibly to elect new officers and leadership. I spoke on Thursday with Mary Souza, a former state senator from Coeur d'Alene, about her decision to challenge the incumbent chair and her priorities for the Idaho GOP.
So we've had a record the last few years in Idaho, in our Republican Party, of changes to our rules that are fairly dramatic and changes to the policies that the Republican Party has put together. And basically, if you add up all of those changes, it all points to the same problem, that the party is not respecting the voters. They're not respecting the Republican voters. They take away the value and the power of everyone's vote when they have their pre-primary endorsements for Republican candidates. And those candidates that are not endorsed are not given any kind of attention or support by the party in their area. So that's one of the things I really insist on changing. And also, we have a rule now that they have put in. It's called Article 20. Some people call it the Inquisition Rule. Some people call it the Tribunal Rule. But it's where the Central Committee in any county, if they choose to, they can call a legislator in to have a mock trial or a kangaroo court type of a thing and quiz them on their votes for certain bills. And it's like, that's disrespectful to the voters as well, because the voters put that legislator in office. So that legislator is beholden to the voters, not voters first, then party officials. And if they want to talk to party officials and the legislator wants to explain their votes, and that's great, but it can't be punitive. And they've got all kinds of consequences if you are censured. You can't use the party name for X number of years, and we don't need this kind of authoritarianism in the party, and that's why I'm running.
Okay. I've heard, just talking to people around today, some of them have said your slogan is reunite, but they've kind of taken issue with some of your columns. They said you've been a little bit of a divisive figure. What would your response to that be?
Well, that's why I'm running. My columns have pointed out where the problems in the party are that are dividing us. And so now I'm running to be in leadership, to pull those factions together, give them all respect, have conversations between all, even people that don't agree with each other. Let's have a conversation and find out why our views are different. And then we can make a decision that's best for everyone in the Republican Party in Idaho.
How is it different being at an event like this, which is a party event, versus being in the legislature, where I used to talk to you?
Yes, so it's really different. Yeah, this is completely different. And I am amazed at the number of people that have traveled all the way from every corner of Idaho to be participating in this event. I think that part is fabulous. I am so excited about the energy. I think there are a lot of people that want to improve our Republican Party leadership right now, and I'm very optimistic that we can do that.
I've also noticed some of your signs specifically say you're an advocate against ranked choice voting.
I am absolutely against ranked choice voting.
Yeah, tell me about that.
Just a little of my history. I ran for Secretary of State. It was not successful. It was a three-way race. That's how these things go. But in the run-up to running for that position, I did a lot of research and a lot of studying, and I went to a lot of conferences with some of the most highly ranked conservative election experts in the country. And for 2 years, they invited me to go to these conferences that are part of it's called the Honest Election Project, and it's highly respected. So in that process, I learned a lot about election integrity, election security, and also ranked choice voting was one of the issues that came up, and it was widely panned as being really confusing, really difficult for even officials to understand, and not a good system for voters at all. So I am entirely against it. I'll tell you a little history though. Even Jimmy Carter, who obviously was a Democrat president, famously was out against ranked choice voting when he was on those election commissions that he was on before. He said ranked choice voting is not good for voters. So even the Democrat president said that. But when it comes to the initiative, I think my biggest problem with that initiative, and I'm entirely against it, is that they are not telling people that ranked choice voting is in it. They're only saying open primaries. Don't you want to be, shouldn't we have open primaries? And they're not saying that there's a poison pill in there, what I consider a poison pill, that ranked choice voting is included. And initiatives sometimes can be very misleading for people. You're standing outside a grocery store, you've got 3 kids with you, somebody comes up with a clipboard and says, "Are you against the close of Republican primary? Sign here." And you don't understand what's in that initiative. So hopefully it won't get enough signatures. But if it does, then I think that there needs to be a great education effort. And that's what the Republican Party should be doing. Not telling voters what they have to do, but educating them about the information so they can make their own choice. So that education effort would have to really be strong on that initiative to at least let people know clearly what that initiative will do if it is passed. Sorry.
I also spoke Thursday with Dorothy Moon, the incumbent party chair and a former state representative from Stanley, about why she wants to continue in the role, as well as some of the highs and lows over her 2 years as leader of the party. How's the convention going so far?
Great, fantastic. We have a really good turnout. I think probably 1,200 people. So there's 630 delegates, and we have alternates and guests. So yeah, we're going to have about 1,200 people here this weekend.
Okay. You're running for another term as chair.
I am.
What's your motivation for that?
Well, insanity, I guess, but somebody needs to do it. I've had a really good time being chair. I'd like to run again because I've got some unfinished business. One, we have a national convention coming up until Milwaukee in a month, and then the fight against ranked choice voting is a huge, huge issue, not only with the Idaho GOP, but also the Republican National Committee. And the fact that we actually passed legislation to prohibit ranked choice voting kind of shows that's where the state wants to go. We do not want to allow this Democrat voting scheme to come into the state.
I talked with Mary Sousa a little bit earlier. She's running for chair as well.
Yes.
She's also very opposed to ranked choice voting, but she seems to be challenging you on the stance that the party's not listening to the grassroots, which I know that's kind of your whole thing. Can you talk to me about the
Well,
disconnect there?
misinformation again, but no, we are very much grassroots. And the fact that we have been to so many different Lincoln Day events and supporting them financially to make sure they're successful and getting the tools they need to get the message out, be it through website development, be it through Numenar walking apps for candidates, be it the weekly opinion pieces I put in the paper that they can share to make sure they know where the party stands on the issues. So no, I'm definitely grassroots. In fact, my favorite thing to do is get out with the people and go to their events. I love that part of it, and that is why I ran. Even as a legislator, when I was a legislator for 6 years, it really bothered me that the people would want issues to be addressed and they're always ignored. In fact, in prior administrations with the Republican Party, they would run resolutions. They could run 25 resolutions. 5 of them were well-developed resolutions that needed to be advanced through the legislative process, and they wouldn't get there. So now we've been moving legislation, and one of the big ones was the fact that the Idaho Republican Party will prohibit ranked choice voting in the state. That law passed. The fact that college IDs cannot be used to go vote anymore. That passed. That was a resolution. So there's also Section 8 housing. That passed. So there's a lot of resolutions that come up that are now making it through those chambers. I'm excited about that as a past legislator and also representing the grassroots. We have now melded those two together, and I think this really has been very good for the citizens of this state.
Okay, so you would say the legislature has done more to advance the party's positions in the last couple of years?
You bet they have, yes, because you have an Idaho GOP that's holding their feet to the fire and saying this is what this region, the whole state wants. So yes, I think the idea now we have a bigger voice to actually convey the wants and needs of the citizens of this state, I think is huge.
Okay, one final question for you. There's been kind of, I'll say, disagreements about the rules. For example, the Bingham County disagreement that I've been covering. What do you think is the disconnect there between the state party and the local parties not following the rules in the state's eyes?
It's really strange to me because I didn't even know hardly any of those people down in Bingham County, honest to goodness. And I was just going to go down and have a meeting that followed the rules. You cannot have an incumbent chair have a meeting to replace himself. There are rules. Upon resignation, within 30 days, the vice chair holds a meeting after proper notice. None of that was done. And then they started moving all the positions. And actually, if you wanted to run for state committee man, you should be allowed to. So you don't have to be a precinct committee man to run for any of these offices. You can just be a great community member who wants to get involved, and you could run for state committee man. But if you don't advertise it and let people know, you're really closing out a lot of skill out there. I want to bring all that skill into the party. So it's unfortunate they didn't want to follow the rules. The previous chair is long gone. He's in Missouri now, and still trying to lead things from out there. But it's like, you guys just stop. They really need to stop and focus on the bigger issues of ranked choice voting, the water wars down in southern Idaho, and the illegal immigrants coming into Boise. We've got some really big issues, but instead we're talking about what day you got to have the meeting, when you've got to notice it. Just follow the rules. That's all I ask.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything you think the party could do to help with the rule following, or?
Sure. We've been going around talking to PCs. We have a PC training, a precinct committee man training, so they understand that the grassroots are really important. So if you have a legislative office that becomes vacant, someone resigns, moves out of state, or death, those PCs are the ones who give the names to the governor to select. These are big, positions. These are not just cookie bakers and balloon blowers and envelope lickers. These are the people who are going to help us to put on a presidential caucus. These are the people who are going to get together and put in vacancies like that. It's a lot more important, and they do need to follow the rules, because if they don't follow the rules, and the ones who do see them not following the rules, not being any type of reprimand for it, I guess you would say, they're just going to keep breaking the rules, and people think, I don't want to be involved with this. No one's following the rules. So I think we've all played cards. We know how it goes. You want people to follow the rules. So anyway, that's all I've got to say about that.
The 2024 Idaho Republican Party Convention continues through Saturday. You'll be able to find more coverage online on our website at idahoreports.org.
Presentation of Idaho Reports on Idaho Public Television is made possible through the generous support of the Laura Moore Cunningham Foundation, committed to fulfilling the Moore and Bettis family legacy of building the great state of Idaho, by the Friends of Idaho Public Television, and by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.